Who was the first President of the United States? The first President of the United States was George Washington. He served 2 terms from 1789 to 1797 after being unanimously elected by the Electoral College. Washington is widely regarded as one of the founding fathers of the United States, having led the Continental Army to victory in the American Revolutionary War and presided over the Constitutional Convention, which shaped the U.S. Constitution. His presidency set many precedents for the role, including the establishment of a cabinet and the tradition of a peaceful transfer of power after 2 terms. In which year did World War II end? World War II ended in 1945, following the surrender of Nazi Germany on May 7 to 8 in Europe, known as VE Day, or Victory in Europe Day, and later, the surrender of Japan on September 2, known as VJ Day, or Victory over Japan Day. These events marked the official end of the global conflict, which had begun in 1939. Who was the Queen of England during the Spanish Armada? The Queen of England during the Spanish Armada was Queen Elizabeth I. The conflict occurred in 1588 when the Spanish Armada, a large fleet sent by King Philip II of Spain, attempted to invade England. This was part of a larger conflict between Protestant England and Catholic Spain. Queen Elizabeth I famously rallied her troops at Tilbury with a stirring speech, expressing her willingness to fight for her country. Under her leadership, the English navy, aided by unfavorable weather conditions for the Spanish, successfully repelled the Armada, marking a significant moment in English history and establishing England as a powerful naval force. What was the name of the ship on which the Pilgrims traveled to America? The ship that carried the Pilgrims to America was called the Mayflower. In 1620, the Mayflower set sail from Plymouth, England, with about 102 passengers who were seeking religious freedom and new opportunities in the New World. After a challenging journey across the Atlantic Ocean, the Pilgrims landed at what is now known as Plymouth, Massachusetts. This voyage and the subsequent settlement are significant in American history and are often commemorated as part of the Thanksgiving tradition. Which empire was ruled by Alexander the Great? Alexander the Great ruled the Macedonian Empire. He became king of Macedonia in 336 BCE and expanded his empire through a series of military campaigns across Asia, Africa, and Europe. By the time of his death in 323 BCE, Alexander had created one of the largest empires in history, stretching from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India. His conquest spread Greek culture and influence throughout these regions, a period known as the Hellenistic era, which significantly impacted art, science, and philosophy. Who was the first man to walk on the moon? The first man to walk on the moon was Neil Armstrong. He achieved this historic feat on July 20, 1969, during the Apollo 11 mission. As he stepped onto the lunar surface, Armstrong famously said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Armstrong was accompanied by astronaut Buzz Aldrin, who followed him onto the moon shortly afterward, while Michael Collins remained in lunar orbit aboard the command module. This mission marked a significant milestone in the space race and remains one of NASA's most celebrated achievements. In what year did the Berlin Wall fall? The Berlin Wall fell on November 9, 1989. This event marked the beginning of the end of the division between East and West Berlin, and it symbolized the collapse of communist control in Eastern Europe. The fall of the wall was triggered by growing political pressures, public protests, and reforms in the Soviet Union under Mikhail Gorbachev. The East German government, facing mounting pressure, announced that border crossings would be permitted. In a historic moment, thousands of East and West Berliners gathered at the wall, and many began to cross freely, celebrating the newfound freedom and unity. This event paved the way for the reunification of Germany, which was officially completed on October 3, 1990. Who was the last ruling pharaoh of Egypt? The last ruling pharaoh of Egypt was Cleopatra VII. She reigned from 51 BCE to 30 BCE and was the final ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt. Cleopatra is well known for her political alliances and relationships with prominent Roman figures, including Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Her reign came to an end after her defeat by Octavian, later known as Emperor Augustus, at the Battle of Actium, which led to her suicide in 30 BCE. Following her death, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire, marking the end of the ancient Egyptian pharaonic line in the Ptolemaic dynasty. What ancient civilization is known for building the pyramids? The ancient Egyptian civilization is renowned for building the pyramids. The Egyptians constructed these monumental structures as tombs for their pharaohs and important nobles during the Old and Middle Kingdom periods, particularly from around 2700 BCE to 1700 BCE. The most famous pyramids are located at Giza, near modern-day Cairo, and include the Great Pyramid of Giza, built for the pharaoh Khufu, which is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. These pyramids were not only burial sites but also symbols of the pharaoh's power and religious beliefs. The Egyptians believed that the pyramid's shape would help the pharaoh ascend to the afterlife, underscoring the cultural and religious significance of these iconic structures.